Today, multiple outlets are reporting that Donald Trump is attempting to tip the scales of New York City's mayoral election by offering some of the candidates jobs in the administration in order to help Andrew Cuomo defeat Zohran Mamdani. Ever since the 33-year-old Mamdani won the Democratic primary in June, the Fox News viewer, who is our president, has been taking a special interest in the New York City race.
If a communist gets elected to run New York, it can never be the same, but we have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. You have a lot of crooked things going on in New York. We're going to straighten out New York. Maybe we're going to have to straighten it out from Washington.
Now, the New York Times is reporting that advisors of Trump are trying to induce the current incumbent mayor, Eric Adams, to leave the race by dangling an administration job for him. Quote, the talks have also involved finding a possible place in the administration for the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa. Citing three people with knowledge of the discussions, the Times reports the goal would be to give former Governor Andrew Cuomo a better chance of defeating Mamdani in November's general election. Politico reports Adams has been offered a position at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, according to a person with direct knowledge of the offer, and that the mayor met with the president's team during his visit this Monday, to Florida. A spokesperson for the Eric Adams campaign said Mayor Adams has not met with Donald Trump. He is not dropping out of the race. But it would not be the first time Trump has used Adams to influence New York City politics. Of course, you'll remember, shortly after taking office, Trump's Department of Justice dropped corruption charges against the mayor in exchange for Trump-favored immigration policies and cooperation from the mayor for them. That move prompted the resignation of over half a dozen prosecutors in both Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office and Main Justice, including the acting U.S. Attorney for the Southern District. Joining me now to respond to all this news on a very busy day is the Democratic candidate for New York City Mayor, Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani. It's good to have you here. Nice to meet you in person for the first time.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So what do you think about all this?
I think it's outrageous. And I think oftentimes in a race such as this, it's tempting to think of this solely in the question of how does this impact the race? But this is an affront to our city's democracy. This is an affront to the values that make so many of us proud to be Americans, that we could choose our own leaders, not that our leaders pick themselves or their friends. And we're seeing in this time when Donald Trump has taken snap from hungry New Yorkers, has passed legislation that would throw millions of New Yorkers off their health insurance, that we have Democrats in Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams working with this administration to try and subvert the will of Democratic primary voters right here in New York City.
Is there a Democratic argument that there's some problem with this split field of four candidates that ends up with a person being the mayor of the city with 40% of the vote? Like, is there, because we have, we had the ranked choice voting in the primary, which I think is an important thing. You've now got this very weird situation where the next mayor might win 35, 40% of the vote. And there's a question about what that would mean for that mayor's representative ability in the city.
I don't think any of those questions are motivating Donald Trump.
That's fair.
Thinking about the actions that they take. And I think that if this was just a question of am I going to face three candidates or one candidate, I wouldn't have concerns. I'm just as confident of beating Andrew Cuomo today as I was yesterday. My concern, however, is what these so-called leaders are willing to give up in the name of securing power. That is why so many New Yorkers are turned off by our politics, because they see no relevance of their struggles in the conversations that are taking place.
There's reporting over the summer that there's a phone call between Donald Trump and Andrew Cuomo, previously undisclosed, reported by the Times August 6th, that Trump spoke about the race directly with Cuomo, an old associate and foil, according to three people briefed on the call who were not authorized to discuss it. Andrew Cuomo denies that they talked about the race. Is your read on this situation that Trump is pulling for Cuomo?
Absolutely. And I think Trump is making that very clear, that this is his choice for mayor of New York City. It's Andrew Cuomo. And he's willing to use every single tool and tactic at his disposal to try and assist Andrew Cuomo in that same pursuit. And what we're seeing right now is to offer and consider positions for two candidates in this race to try and make this one-on-one. It shows just how threatened he is by what our administration would be, which is a fulfillment of the thing that he ran on but has since betrayed, which is a promise of a more affordable life for Americans.
For people that are watching this that consider themselves, Democrats are sort of in the big tent, right? And say they're in the big anti-Trump coalition, okay? And you know, they've known Andrew Cuomo as a known quantity for a long time. And there's a feeling right now as they watch sort of Governor Pritzker in Illinois and Governor Newsom and, you know, mayors in Chicago and D.C. and Baltimore deal with this sort of Godzilla-like figure, right, who's sort of wreaking havoc all over the places, that we need someone who's strong, who's experienced, who can go toe-to-toe, who maybe is kind of a tough guy. And this Zohran Mamdani seems like a nice guy. You know, he seems charming. He's 33 years old. Like, do I think that's the guy that can go toe-to-toe with the threat that is Donald Trump, as opposed to Andrew Cuomo, who's really been around the block?
Let's take the example of California. When Donald Trump deployed the National Guard to California, one of the key ways in which they responded was working together with the mayor of LA, the governor of California, the attorney general, all coming together to file a lawsuit that a judge just yesterday found that deployment was illegal. Can you imagine Andrew Cuomo working with the attorney general of this state, whose endorsement I am proud to have, Tish James, the governor, Kathy Hochul, to work together to fight Donald Trump when he's spoken to Donald Trump more than he's spoken to Kathy Hochul over the course of this race? This is a man who believes in nothing other than his own power. And he spent so much of the primary saying he was best positioned to fight Donald Trump. He's now spending the general saying he's best positioned to work with Donald Trump. And New Yorkers want a mayor who is accountable to them, not to someone in the White House who is looking to rip up the very fabric of the city.
Being New York mayor, to me, strikes me as probably the hardest job in America, in American politics after president. I mean, I really like, and it's basically your job for everyone to hate you, essentially. You know that, right? No one's gonna be like, hey, buddy. Like, everyone's kind of pissed off all the time because it's
New York City.
It's New York City,
Yeah,
right? Like, life is tough. Like, things are crowded, things are expensive. Like, there's a lot of reasons for that. But then on top of that, right? So it's a hard enough job in normal times. But I mean, as we're watching him threatening to send in the National Guard to Illinois, no respect for like the law as it stands. Like, you can't bound yourself within some confines of like, well, he won't do that because it's illegal. Like, how are you thinking about preparing for the job itself in terms of having this threat looming over it?
You have to prepare for the inevitability of Donald Trump to continue being Donald Trump. We cannot, as you've said, rely on any notion of the law or what is appropriate for how he will determine his course of actions. And I look at California as an example, such that we are ready here in New York City on January 1st with a plan of partnership across city and state government to be ready, whether it's for the deployment of the National Guard or it's for his attempt to pass legislation like the one he just did, which will take an axe to so much of what keeps so many New Yorkers afloat. And I think we've seen what New York City can gain if we have a mayor who is willing to collaborate with Donald Trump, which is not that much at all. We've had money directly taken out of bank accounts. We've had a 6-year-old public school student from Jackson Heights being deported. This is what we have when you want to work with Donald Trump. We've seen what it looks like to manage Donald Trump, which is what we see in Andrew Cuomo. We need someone who's actually willing to fight Donald Trump. And we've seen examples of that right here in New York with Kathy Hochul. We've seen examples of that in California. It's time to have that in City Hall.
You have not yet received an endorsement from Hakeem Jeffries, who, of course, is the highest-ranking member of Congress and a member of the New York delegation. I know you've met 4 times. Kathy Hochul has not officially endorsed yet, if I'm not mistaken. You would have to work with both those individuals quite closely. Are you confident that should you win, those are going to be solid relationships?
Absolutely. And so many of the conversations we've had have been about the importance of partnership, because New Yorkers have grown tired at the ways in which Albany and City Hall were at war when Andrew Cuomo was leading the state. They want leaders who understand that they have the same constituents in New York City and they have to serve those constituents. And one thing I've appreciated through all of these conversations is the question of how do we deliver affordability to the residents of the most expensive city in the United States of America?
One of the people who was in that sort of battle, standoff with Andrew Cuomo when he was governor, as mayor, was Bill de Blasio. We covered that. I watched it as a New Yorker. Today, Bill de Blasio endorsed you for mayor. So that's someone who's had some experience on both sides of that. Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic candidate for mayor in New York. Great to have you. Thanks a lot.
Sir. Thank you.